I'm April Razzo, one of the registered dietitians with Florida Cancer Specialists and Research Institute. If you have been with me before on these lunch and learns or teaching kitchens, thank you for coming back. If you're new, welcome. Today we are going to talk about mental health, right? It's so important. And I thought it would be a really good topic for January. We're getting over the holidays. Some of us maybe made some New Year's resolutions. Some of us have maybe already fizzled out on our New Year's resolutions. And so I thought this would be a really good time to talk about mental health and specifically how your diet, how nutrition might play a role in your mood, in your brain function, everything that is incorporated in that big mental health category. So first, it's important to define what is mental health, right? So according to the American Psychiatric Association, mental health involves effective functioning in daily activities, work, school, or caregiving. It's what allows for healthy relationships, the ability to adapt and cope with change and diversity, the basis for your emotions, thinking, communicating, learning, but also hope and your self-esteem. Mental health is vital to relationships. We said it allows for healthy relationships, but also your emotional well-being, contributing to society and to your overall well-being, right? And how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Mental illness are health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or any combination of those. Mental illness can be associated with distress and or problems functioning in a social work or family activities. Mental illnesses include anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, also referred to as OCD, bipolar disorder, among many others. It's a lot more common than you might think. 19% of US adults experience some form of mental illness in any given year. 19%, that's 1 in 5 people every year. In 2016, almost 45 million adults were affected by some form of mental illness. And COVID-19, the last couple of years, has caused a greater impact on mental health, largely from stress and depression related to the uncertainty of the future. So nutritional psychiatry is a relatively new field. We've only started seeing published research studies within the last decade. And essentially, it looks at the link or the correlation between your overall diet quality and mental health. So are there connections? What are the connections between your nutrition and those mental health issues like anxiety and depression? 20% of your daily calorie requirements are used by your brain. Your brain needs food. It needs fuel, just like the rest of your body. Your brain is responsible not only for thoughts, but movements, breathing, your heartbeat, your senses. Your brain is running those things 24/7. So nutrition can absolutely affect brain structure and function and also mood. So just to look at the impact of stress and nutrition on your mental health, think about these things. 36% of adults have difficulty sleeping due to stress. 89% of adults have experienced altered sleeping habits just since the pandemic, so just in the last few years. Also with the pandemic, we saw an average 29-pound weight gain during the lockdown and quarantine. Stress, so we can see stress has both physical and mental symptoms that can affect behavior. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and persistently high levels are seen in the presence of too much stress. And then that results in burnout when those levels crash. A large percentage of people we have also found are not meeting recommended intakes for an assortment of nutrients that may play a role in mental health and stress management, specifically omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, and your B vitamins. So things like folate and thiamine and riboflavin and niacin, B12, B6. So it's really, there is an actual connection, and it's really important to identify that connection. Omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to reduce symptoms of depression. Now, omega-3 fatty acids provide structure to cell membranes. So they have a real physical function. They help support interactions between cells throughout your body. So they're important to all of your cells, but they're found in particularly high concentrations in your brain. There is also some research that suggests omega-3s may also play a role in lowering the risk for Alzheimer's and dementia. Chronic stress has been associated with lower magnesium levels. And B vitamins, those B vitamins that we just talked about, are necessary to make neurotransmitters like serotonin. And we'll talk about serotonin in a second. Neurotransmitters, if you're not familiar, those are basically the brain's messengers, right? Neurotransmitters carry signals or messages from the brain to the rest of your body. Serotonin helps regulate sleep, appetite, and mood, among other things. A lack of serotonin can be associated with depression and anxiety. Serotonin is actually sometimes referred to as the natural feel-good chemical in your body, or one of. We're going to talk about a few of them today. But here's the interesting thing. About 90% of serotonin is produced in the GI tract. And that production is highly influenced by having good bacteria in your gut, that normal healthy gut microbiome that I like to talk so much about. So if you've been with me before, we have discussed the importance of a healthy gut microbiome in lots of previous talks and the connection to a healthy immune system specifically. But there is also a connection between your brain and your gut, known as the gut-brain axis. The two communicate back and forth via the nervous systems, the neuroendocrine system, and even the immune system. So the microbiome, or the normal, healthy, good bacteria in your gut, protect the lining of your intestines. They help limit inflammation. They aid in digestion and absorption of the nutrients that you eat. And they also likely impact mood and energy levels. So it's really important to eat a diet that promotes a healthy gut and those good bacteria. Intake of refined sugars and processed foods may actually be harmful to the brain. Some studies have found a correlation between diets high in refined sugar. So when we say refined sugar, we're talking about candy, cakes, white sugar, right? Simple sugars. We're not talking about apples and bananas when we're talking about refined sugar. So some studies have found a correlation between diets high in refined sugars and impaired brain function and worsening symptoms of depression in some cases. Those diets that are really high in sugar, they actually can impair regulation of insulin in the body to help you manage your blood sugar. It can promote inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which are harmful to your body as a whole. Interestingly, high intakes of sugar can actually cause a temporary spike in dopamine, another feel-good chemical, right? Dopamine is part of the reward system in your body. So high intakes of sugar can spike a release in dopamine, the feel-good chemical, make you feel good temporarily. followed by a hard crash. So eating a healthier diet with less of those refined sugars may actually help prevent those types of mood swings and improve your ability to focus. So what do we recommend? A whole food diet is recommended by the International Society of Nutritional Psychiatry. How's that for a mouthful? And again, if you've been with me before, you know that most of my topics lead down this path, right? To talk about a whole food diet. But what does that mean specifically? Whole food diet, when I say a whole food diet, we're talking about more fruits and vegetables, more whole grains, lean meat, poultry, seafood, nuts, beans, and limiting your intake of those processed foods, right? Processed foods, think high sugar, high fat, fast food, junk food, your snack foods, boxed mixes, okay? Those are all in the realm of processed foods. So this kind of diet, this whole food diet, ensures that you're getting adequate vitamins, minerals, antioxidants to help nourish and protect your brain. And they may also help defend against some of those mental health disorders. Some studies have actually seen the risk of depression up to 35% lower in people who eat a Mediterranean or a traditional Asian diet, both of which are whole food diets. Their emphasis is vegetables, whole grains, beans, with much lower intake of red meat, dairy, saturated fats. So a link to lower risk of depression in people who eat that type of diet versus a typical Western diet, which is going to be more of those processed fast foods. Here's the other upside. Many whole foods are also natural antioxidants, which help fight inflammation. So things like berries, leafy greens, fatty fish for their omega-3s. You're getting all of those on a whole food diet. Again, if you've been with me before, you have probably seen this plate before, this picture. This is the New American Plate by the American Institute of Cancer Research. And I want you to notice a few different things about this plate. First, it's really colorful, right? There is a lot of different variety happening on this plate. There are at least 4 different types of vegetables. There's a whole grain, so it looks like, I don't think it's brown rice. It probably is bulgur wheat or pearl barley. It's a whole, one of the whole grains. And it's not vegetarian. There's chicken on this plate. But the second thing I want you to notice is the portion sizes. It's a much smaller portion of chicken compared to a much larger portion of plant-based foods. So we're getting a lot of color and variety. We're changing up the portion sizes. And the third thing I hope that you're noticing is pretty much nothing on this plate came out of a box. Most of what's on this plate is relatively unprocessed. These are whole foods that we cooked, right, and put together for a meal. So that's what we're looking for. That being said, there are some special key ingredients that we can hone in on for your mental health and well-being. We want to make sure that you're not deficient in some key ingredients. And the first thing that we should talk about is prebiotics, okay? So we talked about the importance of a healthy gut microbiome, those good bacteria. But how do we make sure that we have those good bacteria in the gut, that we're promoting those good bacteria? Think of the good bacteria as probiotics. So if you eat yogurt with live active cultures, or if you take a probiotic, those are the good bacteria. The good bacteria, the probiotics, need prebiotics as their fuel, as their food. So prebiotics kind of feed the probiotics. Is a really easy way to think of it. Your prebiotics are high fiber foods that your normal gut microbiota help digest and break down. So your high fiber foods are going to be fruits and vegetables and beans and whole grains, right? Whole foods in your diet. Fiber can help prevent harmful bacteria from building up in the gut. And it also helps your body absorb glucose, sugar in food, more slowly so that we're preventing those sugar spikes and crashes. Okay, so the fiber is doing a lot of beneficial things for you. Omega-3 fatty acids have been talked about for a long time for their heart health and their benefits in reducing triglycerides and cholesterol. But as we saw in one of those previous slides, omega-3s may also be beneficial in reducing depression symptoms, maybe lowering the risk for dementia long-term. So omega-3s, the best source of omega-3s are going to be from fatty fish, namely salmon, tuna, mackerel, herring, sardines. It is important to note that some types of mackerel and tuna can have higher mercury content, which is a question that I get often. So those should be eaten a little less often. But you can also get omega-3s from walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds. So those are great plant-based sources as well to put in your diet. Magnesium, we saw that low magnesium levels were associated with chronic stress. So we want to make, and a lot of people are actually deficient in magnesium. So where do we get that in our diet? Nuts are a great source of magnesium, specifically almonds, cashews, and peanuts. And then of course, almond butter or peanut butter, because it's going to be made from those nuts. You can also get magnesium from dark leafy greens, bananas, beans, avocados, yogurt, whole grains. In lesser amounts, you're going to get magnesium from animal products, those lean meats, chicken and turkey, and seafood. B vitamins, we said, are vital to actually making neurotransmitters. There are a lot of different B vitamins. So there are going to be a lot of different food sources to get those different B vitamins. But leafy greens, bananas, avocados, nuts, beans. Do I sound like I'm on repeat? Right? There's some patterns here. Also, B12 specifically you get from animal products. So eggs, milk, the lean meat, fish, and poultry. You're also going to get B vitamins from whole grains. And then tryptophan, we haven't talked about yet. You might know what tryptophan is. People joke about eating turkey at Thanksgiving and then needing a nap afterwards, right? Tryptophan helps in the production of serotonin, which we talked about, but it also helps in the production of melatonin. And melatonin helps regulate sleep cycles, sleep and wake cycles. Tryptophan is not produced by your body naturally, which means it's an essential nutrient. It's an amino acid, it's a protein, and it's considered an essential amino acid that you have to get from your diet. And you're going to get tryptophan from poultry, chicken and turkey, also seafood, milk, egg, specifically egg whites, peanuts, and seeds. So things like pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, all contain some tryptophan. Okay. So again, there's a pattern here. We want you eating a whole food diet. And you can see from this list that a lot of these foods overlap in the nutrients that they're providing, right? So a handful of nuts that gives you magnesium and B vitamins, right? Vegetables, bananas, dark leafy greens, you're getting prebiotic fiber, you're getting magnesium, you're getting B vitamins. So having that whole food varied diet gets you a lot of different nutrients that your body needs for that healthy brain function and mental health. Let's talk about a couple of things that are maybe not nutrition specific, but I felt it was important to add in a conversation about mental health. It's really important to get proper sleep. Okay. Sleep does a couple of different things. So, normally, as your brain functions through the day, the normal buildup of waste products is cleared away at night while you're sleeping. So, with adequate sleep, it's almost like a reset for your brain. And when you don't get enough sleep, it's your brain's not able to do that. We've also seen that inadequate sleep can impair immune function. There have actually been studies that show flu vaccines are more effective in people who have slept well. They have a better immune response. We talked briefly about melatonin that helps regulate those sleep and wake cycles. If you have screens on at night while you're lying in bed, let's say you're lying in bed, it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and you're scrolling through Facebook, you're on your phone or your iPad or your laptop, that artificial light, that screen light, can actually decrease melatonin levels. You want higher melatonin levels at night. That's what makes you sleepy and helps promote you getting a restful night's sleep. So a lot of people that I have heard talk about good sleep hygiene, a lot of professionals who make recommendations for good sleep hygiene, they recommend turning off all of those screens, all of that artificial light, at least an hour before bed. And if that seems really undoable, start with a half hour. At least turn the screens off 30 minutes before bed. Maybe work your way up to an hour before bed, that all of that stuff gets shut off. Make sure all the lights are turned off, that you're in a nice dark environment to go to sleep. Try to limit naps during the day. The more you sleep during the day, the harder it is for you to sleep at night. You won't be tired at night. And then you won't get a full restful night's sleep. We want you to exercise, and we're going to talk more about exercise in the last couple of slides coming up. Any activity can count as exercise. The more active you are, the more exercise you get, that actually helps promote good sleep at night. We also suggest that you limit alcohol and caffeine, particularly in the afternoon, closer to bedtime, so that those things are not inhibiting your ability to get a good night's sleep. I have seen some articles, some research that actually says, people will drink alcohol before bed because it helps them fall asleep. It makes them sleepy, but it actually inhibits a good restful night's sleep. People tend to sleep worse through the night with alcohol intake. So something to keep in mind there. Exercise is super important. The nervous system makes endorphins, another feel-good compound. And with activity, there's an immediate release of those endorphins, which can boost mood and reduce stress. Long term, right? Because that's just short term, that's an immediate boost, an immediate benefit. Long term, research has shown that exercise may actually help reduce symptoms of depression among people with chronic illnesses. And they can help lower rates of depression and anxiety. The social support of group activities can provide a sense of belonging, especially for people experiencing depression, loneliness, isolation. Community and social support also improves your motivation for exercise and the frequency with which you do it. You also may find increased self-esteem and confidence as you exercise more. So what are we looking for exercise? The goal is 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity, at least 5 days per week, or 20 minutes of vigorous, high intensity activity, at least 5 days per week. Those exercise guidelines can seem very intimidating. to anyone dealing with depression, anxiety, OCD, chronic stress, or for anyone, frankly, who has not participated in regular physical activity before. So sometimes people really find it hard to start. Time is also often cited as a barrier. Time is one of the top reported barriers to regular exercise. But a lot of us actually spend a lot of time on electronics, right? Our phones, our tablets, the TV. We often set unrealistic goals for our new exercise plan, right? Setting high expectations when you first start a new routine can cause a real sense of failure if you miss a workout. And many of us, I said us, right? Many of us suffer from an all or nothing mentality. So when we start to miss a workout here or there, we just give up. Nervousness, many people are nervous or scared to start a new activity. Maybe they're afraid of feeling foolish or being judged at the gym if they've not been before. And oftentimes, especially if you're struggling with depression or anxiety, we just don't feel like it. We're just not in the mood. We're often disinterested in activities. So how do we overcome those barriers to exercise? First, try to choose something fun. I honestly used to beat myself up when I forced myself to do workouts that other people were doing that I absolutely hated. And I would dread having to do it every day. So pick something that is fun for you. Do you enjoy dancing? Maybe Zumba is your thing. Maybe kickboxing. Maybe you like to run. Maybe you hate to run, but you'll walk. Do things that you enjoy to get that exercise. There's also something called NEAT, and that stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's a lot, it's a mouthful, but that basically means lifestyle activities and movement without formal exercise, without having to go to the gym or take a class. So those NEAT activities are things like gardening, walking your dog, parking farther away when you're running errands so that you have to get more steps in, you have to walk a little bit farther, playing with your kids on the playground, taking the stairs. Those are all activity, movement, without having to do formal exercise if that feels overwhelming. Go outside. Research has shown that outdoor activities in natural environments and green spaces can have a positive impact on your mood and your mental health. And it also increases enjoyment and your motivation to keep doing it. We talked about social support. Have a buddy. Definitely try to do this on the buddy system. Have someone that you're doing those activities with, or a group, or even someone, if they're not able to do it with you, someone that's just there to hold you accountable to do it. My workout buddy lives in North Carolina, but we text each other each day. What are you doing today? What are you eating today? What's your activity today? And you have to answer to that, right? So it's super helpful to have some kind of social support. And most importantly, what I can leave you with is to start small. Do not feel like it's all or nothing. Do not feel like you have to start with 30 minutes, 5 days a week if you've never done it before. Maybe your initial goal is 2 days a week. Maybe your initial goal is 3 or 4 days a week, but only 15 minutes, okay? Pick something that's realistic for you so that you don't quit, and then you can build from there. So that is everything in a nutshell. It's 12:30. If you're willing to stick around for a couple minutes, I will take a few questions. And I do have one question. How can I get some of the things mentioned when I am currently on a low fiber diet? That's a fantastic question. So you are limited. If you're having to follow a low fiber diet, you are slightly limited in raw fruits and vegetables that you can eat. You can still eat cooked vegetables. Those are easier to digest and typically allowed on a low fiber diet. You may also consider smoothie recipes where you're putting small portions. Quantity matters, right? You don't want to put 2 cups of blueberries in one giant smoothie that you're drinking all at once, but half cup portions of fruits, maybe even vegetables in your smoothie, like a handful of spinach that you put in your smoothie. Because when you're pureeing it, you're helping to break down the fiber. You should talk to your doctor before you do any of this. Obviously, I don't know why you're following a low fiber diet, so you should get clearance that that's allowed. But typically when I work with people who are following a low fiber diet, those are some of the workarounds to still get you those vitamins and minerals. You also can help boost your gut microbiome and the healthy bacteria with things that are not super high fiber. Yogurt, we said, the yogurt that has live active cultures can help support a healthy gut as well. So hopefully those are all options for you to help that situation.